In this video, I'm going to import both an SVG and a PNG versions of the same file so that I can point out some of the differences and how to handle them. Now, this is a rather simple file, so it makes it easy to make a quick video showing how things work. Anytime you come upon one and you go, well, I watched your video, but it's not working for me, well, you may have to reach out to a Facebook group or try to contact me directly for more assistance. So I'm going to use the import function, and I'm going to do the SVG first. And so I'm going to go ahead and select this. And this is a file that I purchased off from an Etsy store. And it's kind of cool, even though I'm not necessarily a New York fan. I live out here in Arizona. But I did think it was very clever. And you can buy other versions of this file that are very reasonably priced and, would make great T-shirts. So here we have it. So I'm bringing the SVG, and I'm going to open up the Layers panel. And as always, there's a couple of things that are kind of a good idea to do whenever you import any file. And that is, what is there? What am I seeing? So in this case, I see a single folder here. It's not grouped, but when I open it up, I do see then a grouped layer. And then, you can keep clicking on these things and you find all these different groups. So what I'll do is I'm going to ungroup this just so I can have a look at it. The other thing you can do that's also a good idea is to click on the preview button. When you click on preview, then you can make sure show cut lines is the only thing I have marked. So all these things are turned off, and these don't affect what happened other than just what you see on the screen. So right now I can see this is everything that's going to cut, and that looks pretty good. It looks like I have all the cut lines there. There doesn't seem to be anything missing. So that's kind of the advantage of it being an SVG file, is it's basically designed to be cut in different colors as appropriate. So really, there's nothing you really have to do here. You have your red layer, and another thing you could do, kind of a little hit, is just turn things off and see what goes away. Okay, so I see, okay, I've got this outline and I've got this layer, and you can either group these together, you could weld or merge them together, whatever, but not really necessary. And then of course you have the red. And then if you have SureCut Pro, then you have the option in the cut window. You will see a tab up here that says, I don't know, cut by color or something like that. And so you can, then select, which color you want to cut first. In the absence of that, you basically can just select which one you want to cut, and then when you come to the cutter window, just mark this option cut selection only, and that'll be the only layer that gets cut. And of course, right now it would cut where it's located over here on this virtual mat, or you can change to origin point. It's going to move it down here to the origin on the Caesar cutter, which saves you, losing a lot of extra material, because it's basically compressed down in the minimum area for cutting. Okay, so I'm going to cancel that, and then to be the same thing if you're cutting those two. So now that I'm going to delete all of this, and I'm going to import the PNG version. So let's come over here again to import, and this time I'm going to pick this one, which is the PNG. And in this particular case, it comes in really large, so I'm going to bring down the size. And over here, this is the position size panel, and you can bring down the size, to whatever you might want. So let's say the width is only going to be maybe 10 inches. For a shirt. So here we have the file. Now then, again, you can come up here to this preview and have a look at what's going on. So you can see it has all of these cut lines, and then when you go to show printable, then this is what you see for the, for the print layer. Now, if you were going to be making this, let's say you were going to print this out and then cut it, then you might want to change this cut line, because usually for these things, well, it all depends. Sometimes people might want some of this stuff cut out, but you also have the option with this cut layer to come over here to the style panel and change this to blackout. And now then when we go to preview and we turn off show printable, this is what's going to cut. So that's a very quick way of getting rid of all those internal cut lines that you might not want to have. Okay, but let's go back and say that this was the only version you were going to get, and you're planning to cut, each of these layers by color. So this is where you need to kind of, again, look at what you have here. So I'm going to take this cut layer, and I'm just going to drag it out, and then I'm going to hide this, although I could probably delete it if I'm not going to use it. Now this cut layer, because of the way that SureCut imports, the PNG files, you need to come and turn on the color if you want to see this. So over here on on this particular fill and stroke panel, I'm going to go to the stroke, and I'm just going to select color. And now then I can see that it's brought in what it plans to cut. Now I made a mistake because I forgot that this cut layer, I had left this on the style panel still set to blackout. So now that I'm going to come back and change it back to normal so that I have all of those internal cuts. And so now then let's just kind of see what we have here. Should be all one shape, right? So if I want to split it up, I need to go to Object, Break Apart. And then when I do that, now that I'm going to have all these individual layers. And when you do that, you might want to come up and, this is your opportunity to color them differently if you want to. So, but you've got to kind of, isolate what are all these little individual pieces. So I think I'm going to work on the letters first because they're sort of easier to identify. So I'm going to take these various letters. I'm going to hold the Shift key and select each one of them. And they all are together. The only thing is some of the little ones may or may not, I may be missing some of them. Well, like this one right here, this is probably the little internal part of the O. And this one might be, nope, not that one. Let's turn that one back off. Oops. Let's come back and do this again. Okay, I'm going to select each one of these. Okay, and I'm going to group them. So I'm doing the Control G and I'm going to hide them. And once I do that, then I can see that I essentially have gotten rid of, or I've separated out everything that would be part of the red lettering. So then I'm going to take this group, turn it back on again, and I'll come over and I'm going to give it a color of red. Okay. And you'll notice like those little internal parts, I can come up and do an object merge, and then that will cut those out so that now it looks like the original lettering. Okay. Now then, hiding that, then the rest of this is all the stuff that's blue. And again, because I used Break Apart, it's all separated, every little piece separately. So to merge that back together, I go to Object Merge. And then once I do that, then I can give it a color. Let's give it a fill color of this blue. Okay, and now then you basically have your two layers again that you're ready to cut out. Now, sometimes when you import a PNG file, it doesn't have all of these cut lines already in place. And the reason why they were in place is because this file was designed with a transparent background. In other words, everything in the background was just empty space, not the color white. So what do you do, however, if it doesn't have a true transparent background and instead it just has a white background? And when it has a white background, then basically what you would see is it would just want to cut an overall rectangle instead of cutting what you desire, the outline. So what you can do in order to trace it is you can come down here to this print layer. Let's turn this back on here. Turn that, oh, I need to turn this on first. There we go. So I can select this print layer and take it to the trace window. And in this trace window, you'll note the default is going to be monochrome, and that's if you were just kind of wanting everything to be the same color. But if I want to separate and be able to trace the red separate from the blue, then I'm going to change it to single color, which I recommend over color layers. You can look in the user manual and understand the difference between the two, but typically single color, I think, has a little bit more application for such a project such as this. So when I do that, it's going to have a default color, but this may or may not be the color you want. So instead, you can just, anytime you want to select a color, just double click this little box right here, and then you'll see that same color show up. But now then, as I move my cursor over the image, I can see different colors pop up. So I could come down, I could select this red, for example, right? And then click on Update Preview and confirm that I get, the part I want traced. And by the way, this window can be made bigger, which is a very nice feature because now then you can see better on your monitor exactly what's going to trace and how even it is. And, don't forget things up here. You've got the number of nodes, and you can come down here and look at just what's going to cut versus your original image. So slide that back and forth as needed. And then there's, in the manual, I cover all of these different, settings and stuff. For example, if I was missing part of the new, it wasn't like a nice complete outline, I would increase the contrast in order to get more of the New York lettering selected, or to traced. If I'm picking up some, I don't know, let's say there were some kind of pink colors or something in here, you might notice if you go too high, you start picking up of these other colors, these other shades that are close to red. In that case, you would bring that back down. And then again, there's other settings here that you may or may not ever need to understand, but they're all covered in the SCAL6 user manual. So then when you're happy with that, I'm going to come down here and make sure this is marked, this prompt to continue tracing. And what that does, it allows me to stay in this window until I have all of the colors traced that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And now that it's going to ask me, would I like to continue tracing the image to add more layers? The answer is yes. And this is where, again, I can double click this, and now that I can come pick the blue. Now note that originally I could have just stuck with the blue originally. I just kind of wanted to show you, being able to switch back and forth, to various colors. So now that I'm going to come down, I'm going to select the blue, click on Update Preview, and then verify again, do I have everything that I want traced? And it looks good. And if I didn't, then I would be adjusting the contrast. All right, and then once I have that, I click on OK. And would you like to continue tracing? No, I'm done. So then when I do that, now that I have a new layer up here at the top, and it's a group layer that has my red layer, that has my blue layer. So again, I could select just the red layer if I was ready to cut from red, go to the cutter window, make sure this is selected. Now don't forget, sometimes you might do a different project, you forget to turn this off and you have nothing selected and you're like, wait a minute, where's my cut shape? So just keep in mind that you have this option marked and you'll need to turn it off before you do a different project, and especially in a case where you don't have different colors that you're cutting. All right, so there's the New York, and then again, once I cut that, which I do by Klic-N-Kut, then I can come and I can select just the blue layer and then go to the cut window. Right, and then I see that blue layer there that's ready to cut. So anyway, I hope this helps. And again, this is a rather simple example. So if you need more help with something that's more complicated, just reach out for help, because we have experts in SureCuts-A-Lot who've been using the software for many years, and we're all eager to make sure other people learn what they need to learn to be successful.